President Trump made a pretty big mistake here in terms of strategy for the 2020 campaign. I think that this instinct highlights why his 2020 chances are not nearly as good as they were in 2016. By the way, he looks like a Yeti, doesn't he? He stands like a... We're standing very normally today, folks. That's what we do. We love to stand normally. Yeti man. And George Stephanopoulos really is tiny. He is very tiny. But anyway, so here's Trump. They talk about the economy. Look at the argument he makes.
The super V, Mr. President, a lot of people look at this and say it's more like a K-shaped recovery, that people at the top who have a lot of stocks are doing pretty well. But you've only gotten half the jobs back.
George, stocks are owned by everybody. I mean, you know, if they talk about the stock market is so good. That's 401ks. I'm meeting people with, as long as they didn't sell when the market went down, when we first realized the, extent of this horrible thing from China. I mean, these people are doing, some of them are doing better than they were doing before the pandemic came.
Still got 13.6 million.
If people held on to their stocks, and remember this, because I notice you say wealthy, sure, wealthy, but you have people that aren't wealthy, but have done well because of the stock market.
Not good. This is not going to land, my dude. This is not going to land. Nobody's watching this and nodding in agreement except the hardcore Trump base. And even they might have a moment of pause and be like, I'm not being helped right now. So the reason why the stock market is still doing okay is because it was basically fully socialized. The Fed was like, we're just not going to let you fail. We're not even going to let you go down. We're going to do everything we can to prop you up. So if that means, and this was happening at the height in I think it was March or April, when the market was plummeting and everything was falling apart, they were doing $1 trillion a day of quantitative easing, which is, again, just basically pumping money into the market. $1 trillion a day. A day. A day. Free college for the whole country costs $60 billion a year. They can't afford that. But $1 trillion a day in quantitative easing? Sure, go right ahead. So they basically fully socialized the market. And now he's bragging about the market. Well, guess what, guys? And you're not going to be surprised to hear this, but some people would be surprised to hear this. That's only a reflection of how the corporations and the wealthy are doing. So the top 1% owns 50% of the stocks. 1% owns half the stocks. The top 10% owns 84% of all stocks. So yes, this is a reflection of how the wealthy are doing. Duh. It's a reflection of how the corporations are doing. And that's why you fully socialized it. Because you said, hey, we're bought and owned by corporations, so we're always going to save them. Not going to save the American people. We'll give you a one-time stimulus check of a measly $1,200, and you can piss right off after that. So, but to brag about this is so tone deaf. So tone deaf. See, again, Trump 2016, make America great again. Things are a mess. We got to come in. We got to fix it. We got to fight the establishment. Now, since he is the establishment, he's like, isn't everything wonderful? I think everything's wonderful. Isn't the stock market great? I think the stock market is doing tremendous. And I think that's reflective of how your average American is doing. We just covered the NPR poll. 46% of Americans say they're in, quote, serious financial problems. Serious financial problems. 46%. That's half the country struggling to pay the bills. You remember a few months ago, what was it? 31%, 32% didn't make their rent payment? These are numbers we've never seen before. We basically have 20% real unemployment. We have an eviction crisis, which is only temporarily being put off by this amalgamation of state moratoriums on evicting people. But as soon as those run out, we're going to have a homelessness crisis the likes of which we've never seen. We have, about 500,000 homeless people right now? There was one article that said 28 million people are on the brink of homelessness. 28 million. To deflect and obfuscate from the nature of reality right now is political suicide. That's like FDR, when he ran for president and it's during the Great Depression and he's acting like there's no depression. What are you talking about? Everything's fine. I don't think he would have won if that was the message. He had to be like, yes, it's happening, and here's exactly what we're going to do to fight it, and here are the people stopping me from taking it on, and I welcome their hatred. This is just like bury your head in the sand and pretend like everything is already okay, and you wonder why he's down massively. A ham sandwich would be beating Trump right now, for sure. Because he's all over the place, he has no coherent message, and half the time he acts like we already succeeded. Everything's good already. Forget the fact that half the country's having serious financial problems. People can't make rent. What was it, 30 million Americans? Something like that? Were food insecure. Tens of millions of Americans didn't have enough to eat. I saw the lines for unemployment in Kentucky. I saw, the lines for food banks down the block. Endless. And he's out there bragging about the stock market? What happened to your political instincts, you dipshit? God damn it, man. Wow. Oh, Christ, man. This is crazy. This is crazy. So anyway, Biden doesn't have to say anything or do anything. He's going to be the beneficiary of this. Because this is so disconnected. It's like legendary levels of disconnected. He sounds like any standard politician. And that's not going to work for him. His appeal came from not being a standard politician. Now he sounds like a standard politician. America's already great. Stock market's doing great, so, regular people are doing great. People are doing worse than they have since the Great Depression. Let that sink in. Worse since the Great Depression. You can't just override that and pretend like that's not the case, and that's exactly what he's trying to do.